Great. Good morning. I'll go ahead and call the Transportation Authority of Calhoun County July 22nd, 2025 meeting to order. Matt, would you mind doing roll call for us today?
Janae Morris. Maya Williams. Amy Evans. Here. Eric Stewart.
Present.
Paul Watson.
Here.
Tom Darkness.
Here. Great. So
One person.
I'm sorry, Vivian Davis. We still have more.
great. Okay, quorum exists today. Thank you very much, Matt, for roll call. Take a look at the agenda. Couple of changes on the agenda. I'd like to direct your attention to unfinished business for appointment of executive director. I'd like to table that as that we know we have an agreement in process with the attorneys between the city of Battle Creek and our council. And that's still moving forward. So it's not in final draft yet or what have you, but we'll keep watch on that. So we'll table that for this meeting and bring that up when appropriate. Any other changes to the agenda that we need to make other than tabling that piece? Okay. Hearing none, I'll seek a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
So move.
Bearing support, short people, so we got to participate. It's been moved and supported. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Perfect. We'll move on to approval of the June 24th, 2025 minutes and committee work session on July 8th, 2025. I think we'll separate those just for perfunctory reasons. So the approval of the minutes, is there a motion?
Some.
Okay, it's been moved. I'll take the
Support.
enthusiasm as support. All those in favor for the approval of the June 24th, 2025 minutes?
Aye.
All those opposed? Same sign? Perfect. We'll move on to the committee work session. We had a rather robust committee work session and I'm seeking approval of the.
I will move approval for those minutes. I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported, supported by Mr. Tarkowitz. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Perfect. Any public comments? Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to consent agenda. I don't have anything on the consent agenda.
Anything there?
Well,
Do we
well,
fit on the,
yeah. Well, we may, and if you will, in the future.
okay.
Yeah, it's just a point of order. So just to clarify, since you brought it up in an official manner,
Bothers me that it's there, we don't use it. I'm like, let's get rid of it.
you would be who you are if you didn't ask.
That's right.
So in the future, as we have committee reports and things of that nature, I say that lightly, we put that structure in place. As those get robust and are performing and we have a little more structure, we will have those folks meeting, and sometimes we don't need to go through that detail. We'll just put that on the consent agenda, and if we approve the consent agenda, we'll have the opportunity to pull something off of the consent agenda and kind of go from there, but it just helps the meeting roll a little more cleaner and what have you after we've reviewed the committee work. So, okay.
For sure.
So necessary piece, not to be removed yet, although maybe sometime in the near future, it will be active, okay? We'll make you happy, Amy.
That would be good.
Okay, review of finance and budget report. We know that Ms. Williams is on assignment at a transportation conference. So that finance and budget report was disseminated and what have you. I didn't see any red flags in that report, but if you want to review that, we'll approve that when she returns.
If you'd like, I was with her, we prepared it together.
Oh.
So if you want to table it, that's fine, but if not, we can, if you have any questions for me.
What's the pleasure of the board? If we make a motion, then I have to entertain that.
I would move it.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there support?
Support.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor of the approval of the finance and budget report for July 2022?
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Any public hearings and subsequent board action? No public hearings or subsequent board action? Great. Let's move right into unfinished business. We are trucking along. We tabled appointment of executive director, update on marketing and communication. We'll do it together. I would invite my technical assistant, our technical assistant, Mallory Avery, to the podium, please.
Yes, so we have had a few meetings with King Media, the marketing firm that was selected. Last Friday, they presented 2 different campaign ideas as well as vehicle designs. Eric and I had a chance to see those. The campaign we gave a little bit of feedback on. It includes printed materials, streaming media, and then obviously website and social media redesign. And then vehicle designs focus on the 3 different modes of service. So the Max, the Move, and the Flex, with the vehicles each obviously having their own recognizable design for each of those services. So again, they presented that to us. We provided some feedback. And I expect probably by this Friday to have kind of a re-rendering of what those vehicles would look like with our feedback. And then we will be prepared to start wrapping those vehicles as soon as the design is complete. So potentially in the next 30 days or so, we could start seeing some Ride Calhoun vehicles out there.
That's exciting.
So that committee of really Mallory and myself and others that could attend, but it was Mallory and myself, reviewed the rather lengthy proposal and suggestions and narrowed that down. And hopefully we'll come back with a recommendation based on what we have. And we're pretty excited. I'm downplaying it today because if I kind of upplay it, Mallory will continue to lose sleep. She had a lot of fun in that meeting, but it's kind of cool. It gives presence to who we are in this community, and it really brings us together. So I think the look, the feel, and the wording is important. So,
Nice.
Mallory, you're thinking in the next 30 days, you'll be ready to wrap. Do we want to start sometime soon talking to the city of Marshall, or just have a separate letter of understanding or something that we could start wrapping the 6? Matt, you got 6 buses? 6?
Yeah, we'll put it'll be kind of a staggered timeline together. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mallory, when you're talking about wrapping, we're gonna wrap the vehicles we have that are new first, that are not in
Correct.
service. So we're talking about
Yes.
out of service vehicles right now that will be in service, hit the road as new equipment. And then once we have an agreement with the city and so on and so forth, then we can probably start wrapping. It's more of a question than me telling you, wrapping road vehicles at that point. Because what we don't want to do is get ahead of our skis, wrap some road vehicles, have that new branding on the road, have 2 different brandings. And I mean, there's going to be a little bit of overlap, but we need to be intentional about being celebratory about what's happening versus, it's a new bus. You know what I'm saying? That's going to help us with public awareness. That's going to help us with articulating and showing in practice the new direction that this board has given mobility and transportation for this region. And that will it should get taxpayers excited about, we have begun to fulfill that mission that we talked about a year ago.
And it's 2 separate pots of money, and we're kind of dividing the vehicles into those pots of money. So any of the new vehicles we've received probably over the last 6 months or so, we didn't really brand them as Battle Creek Transit, obviously knowing we're going into this transition. So the newer vehicles, that pot of money for wrapping those is in capital funds as part of the vehicle purchases. The rebranding of existing vehicles will have to be bid out. So
That was going to be my next question.
yes. So the vehicles that are currently, I'm going to call them a blank canvas, the newer ones that haven't been branded at all, those will be easy. Those are going to be the low-hanging fruit we tackle first. And then the rebranding will be a little bit down the line.
Not that we don't already have enough to do. Since we have kind of an idea in the next week or so of where we're going. Would it be prudent for us to kind of get that RFP out with what we have and
we
start
can start
getting
working
some
on that.
data back? You know what I'm saying? We got enough for them to look at to say, okay, this is what a wrap looks like.
Yep.
And then we'd probably have to have them sign an NDA of some sort to keep that in-house and kind of go from there.
And the independent cost estimate we worked on yesterday. So my maintenance supervisor was working on getting an independent cost estimate, which is the first step to doing the RFP for vehicle rebranding, the existing vehicles.
Do you have somebody locally who does it, or do you have to go out of town?
So we have 2 potential vendors locally, as well as one in Grand Rapids that does transit vehicles. Our RFP would have to be posted nationally, so anybody could really bid on it. Traditionally, we use Signs and Designs in Battle Creek, but it would be based on price and proposal.
Do they come into your shop to do it, or do you have to take the vehicle to?
We've had it done both ways. Yeah, so it depends on, so like the big 35, 40-foot buses, if their facility can't fit our vehicle, then they can come to our shop and do it.
Because I think if all of a sudden somebody from Las Vegas, gets the contract and you got to drive a bus, and Eric's going.
In our experience in the past with full vehicle wraps is it takes probably about a week altogether to wrap a bus. So if we figure one vehicle a week, it's going to take us several weeks to get through them all. Any other questions on marketing?
Because I was in that meeting too. So we're talking about not just vehicle wraps, but print material, things that would signage, so on and so forth. So that's a full package deal. And what have you. True that the vehicles would be most community facing, but then you're talking about bus stop designs and so on and so forth. So it's pretty, there's a lot of work that'll have to go into that. But as future staff and the LAC come together with where bus routes will be and stops, and we start having those conversations, that will come more into play. But we have a structure that will follow in terms of the look, the feel, and what have you. So
I think I heard you say the website might be redesigned too.
Yes.
That's exciting also.
Yes.
I mean, it's nice now, but
Yes. And so, right now it's kind of a landing page for information, but we have to revision it as trip planner and system information, things like that. So they've done a good job so far of kind of generating images of what that could look like on the website.
Cool. I can't wait to see it all.
I can't remember. Do your bus stop signs have BCT on them?
They do.
Change all those signs, or has the city of Battle Creek to change them, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we have funding to do a route optimization study. And so likely we would try to align the replacement of those bus stop signs to be the authority bus stop signs with the realignment of any routes that came out of that study.
That makes good sense.
Yep. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, we'll transition right into the expanded BC Go service. We invite Ms. Christie to the podium. Thank you.
I don't have a lot of new stuff to talk about with the expanded service. The good news is we are seeing some trips in Albion. I know one of the days next week, it was just one person, but they did book a couple round trips to kind of do errands within the city. We are just matching more Albion to Marshall or Albion to Battle Creek now. So I would say the county-wide vehicles are the ones that are getting exposure, not the vehicle that we've kind of placed in Albion. So something to think of. Yesterday, We provided a trip from Albion to Battle Creek for them to go to Willard Library, and then Willard Library back to Albion where they lived. So we are seeing that that's becoming more utilized, I guess, as the countywide vehicles that are going to Albion, not the one that we have stationed there. Okay?
That's sweet. I know we have I was a part of some interest. Did we get that outreach from one of the potential partners in Albion for student? Yeah.
Yes, I did, and I'm working with them.
Okay.
Yep, I have two that have reached out to me. Star Commonwealth is one, and another one is a youth mobility program. It's like KPI or something. That they've reached out about using the service too. So
That's kind of cool. So for those of you that don't know, STAR has a newer program called Focus Forward, where it takes youth and addresses some of their needs, such as housing and things of that nature, and they may stay on campus and they kind of do some transitional resilience work and trauma work, and then reinsert them into the workforce in some manner. And the challenge was they were doing incredible work, and then once they got to, I got you a job, how are we gonna get you from here to the job? And so I just happened to be at a meeting about something else on campus and got,
Privy to that.
no, they can we pull you over here
Oh.
and talk about what that looks like. And so we'll be having more of those conversations and what have you. We'll talk a little bit about that similar conversation happened at Marshall Manufacturing Association meeting and what have you. So you're going to get more folks that are interested and ready to have that conversation. And I think we'll work with staff in a technical manner to be able to find the right approach that works depending on where, who, and what. So thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Yep. Look at that. That's 100% improvement in ridership since the last time we talked for the BC Go piece, right? That's how the statistics work. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. The doctor has confirmed that. Okay, we'll jump right into new business. MDOT signature resolution. I want to invite Mallory up to kind of explain this in a technical way, but I'll explain it in a very narrow, simplistic way. MDOT requires there to be a signatory that cannot be one of us board members. We cannot sign for ourselves on grants and things of that nature that are MDOT related. So anyone can, and let's say anyone, someone relative to this body can be appointed to be that signatory. And on the table is us, I'll put out there, casting a motion to have Mallory be that person for us until we get organized and have a executive director, CEO, or whatever you want to call it, and kind of go from there.
Yeah.
Did I explain that?
You did.
Anything else I'm missing?
So in your packet is resolution 03/2025. This resolution would give me the authority to execute agreements with the Michigan Department of Transportation. So as we're preparing to start fiscal year 2026, which starts October 1st, we will need to begin executing a master agreement as well as establishing vendor relationships with the Michigan Department of Transportation and FTA. The signature resolution will give me the authority to execute those agreements and establish those systems, vendor systems in the state of Michigan system called Sigma. And then the TACC can begin receive funding.
Yep. So that would be the resolutions included in your packet. That would be here if we take a chance to review that. And so we're good with
Yes. Yep.
with the
With the wording.
agreement and the
Yep.
language and what have you. And-
Yes.
Okay. So can I entertain a motion to appoint Mallory or someone?
So moved.
I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any other discussion? Great. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, so Mallory, I'll go ahead and ratify that and give that back to you so we can get that back to them along with some of these other things and kind of go from there. Okay, great, that's progress. Any public comments on non-agenda items? The general section. Okay, hearing none. Or seeing none, rather. Board and executive director comments. Communication to the board. Is there any communications that we have?
I was just going to mention that, and you mentioned it, Mallory, Eric, and myself were at Marshall Manufacturing. A lot of good questions. I asked questions of the audience about what time do you need buses on the road or vans on the road to get places, and also days of the week. It didn't seem like Sunday was even a thought in their minds, and only one company mentioned, well, Saturday would be nice, but it was just the hours, longer hours, early in the morning, later in the day. And then before I could even ask the question, someone said, well, is there a way we can sponsor people, to pay for a ride for our, I'm assuming staff or customers. This happens to be a bank. And so there's interest there on that side of where they would do, I'll go with the old school to give tokens, but give rides to people. So it was, that's all I had to say. I don't know if you.
No, can I ask this question since we crossed that bridge? Just to shore that up, I know that question was asked, just to be clarified, the question was asked to get our associates from A to B, could we create a quote unquote sponsorship or voucher type system or what have you? Would it be fair to say that we just had the fair workshop and that the conclusion of that workshop would include packages such as that because it's kind of fair related and what have you? Is that safe to say that we'll cross that bridge, or do we need to have another workshop that addresses the nuances of those things? Because it's a little more complicated than what I'm thinking.
Yes, so I would say,
Which part?
so in the future, I would say near future, we can start having those conversations about what contracting relationships look like or sponsorship relationships look like. I would say separate from, I think I've said it before, I see two different ways of paying passenger fares. One is obviously the passenger pays their fare, and then the other is a third-party relationship where somebody else pays the fare on behalf of the passenger. Those relationships would be negotiated and contracted versus obviously the passenger relationships. So our priority would be focusing on the passenger-facing portion first, and then start diving into the opportunities for contracting and sponsorship.
And I would say that relationship may be fluid depending on how technology works in the future too.
Correct.
Where we may have one system right now when we're technology laden, that may be
Exactly.
a little, there may be opportunities for improvement.
Yes, and it's not a one size fits all solution, right? So we can, I think the term I used at the Marshall Area Manufacturers Association was creative contracting. Every sponsors or businesses or contractors need is different. Their ability to participate is different, and their passenger or customer or employees needs may be different. So creative contracting on what the individuals need.
One thing to watch, because I ran into this on some other issues with the IRS, is it income and then taxable depending on how you do certain things. So that's got to be a key piece that the employee who's using the service isn't going to be
Taxed on the as a fringe benefit.
Let somebody more creative myself.
Yeah.
Will that answer that for us?
Yeah.
Help us with that part, possibly.
Yeah, I would think they could.
Yeah, for sure. They have tax bills.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any other questions?
The other thing you didn't mention as part of our workshop, we're still, I think before we go back to some of these people, we need to know those, we'll need to know those zone to zone.
We are working on that. So we took all of your feedback back. We're playing with the numbers now of what the different impacts are, both from obviously the community impact side of the ability to pay the fares, and then the revenue generation side. So, right now we have a graduated fare payment system on BC Go based on mileage. Going to a flat rate system and determining what the budgetary impact of that is what we're working on now.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
In this item, communications to the board, can I ask about the meeting last Thursday, I believe it was, with Maynard, speaking of them, that took place? Just wondering. for an update.
yeah, it was remember, we just contracted with Maynard Christensen to be our support folks for finance and accounting needs. And from my seat, since Ms. Williams is not here, and Mallory can help me out, it was a good meeting to level set what expectations were. They asked a lot of good questions. They got a real good sense of where we were and where we needed, what we need. If I put it on a scale of 1 to 10, we communicated to them that we were at a 1 in terms of organization structure. Operationally, in terms of how things happen or how things work, we need to explain the relationship between the city of Battle Creek, Marshall, municipalities, and the TACC. So I think we did a good job doing that. I think some deliverables are system, process, policy, and procedure is what we have to tackle next while we put structure together and what have you. So they've gone back based on some of our observations and need assessment, and may give us some feedback on how to tackle those things. It's intrinsically important that we pick the right system right now. There's 2 different types, and we have to pick the system for the future, not for today. And so we'll look forward to, in the very near future, getting out of our current Excel sheet situation into a situation that meets the requirements of the upcoming MDOT federal needs and some other grant requirements and so on and so forth, plus our day-to-day activity. So as that increases, which it's beginning to increase, that's kind of what the balance of the meeting was. So I think we have another meeting coming up fairly soon, but Ms. Williams will communicate that upon her return, and we'll go from there. It's a good meeting.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's quite a team, so it's good.
I'm excited.
Thank you.
Great.
All right. Legislative authority updates? Any legislative stuff? Man, something else has happened?
I will share that the fiscal year 2026 federal budget right now is at about 11% cut in transit funding under the Big Beautiful Bill. We don't know what that impact would look like. Keep in mind, we were 3/4 of the way through fiscal year 25 before we actually got the apportionment of what our fiscal year 25 funding levels were. I don't anticipate it impacting us severely. Keep in mind, I budgeted relatively conservatively on the revenue side. So, for example, I budgeted about 1.9 million in federal funds, and this year we're just over 2 million. Traditionally, that funding amount goes up with kind of cost of living and general inflation, but even at about an 11% cut, we're still around budget. But just something to keep aware of with your elected officials is the impact that could have on not only transit funding, but rail funding as well.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll continue into, and the one thing I'll say about that, let me ask a question real quick. I'm sorry, you keep moving back and forth. So relative to, and I don't know if it makes a difference because it's all politics and moving through appropriation and what have you, but I get the sense, based on conversations that have randomly come across my desk, that from a federal sense, this activity that we're doing is on the radar. You get where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Where many communities are watching what we're doing, waiting to see how we do it, and that it's an important matter of getting things set up properly. Would that be safe to say? Have you heard that in your travels?
Eyes are definitely on Calhoun County. Yes. And FTA is a partner. So I know that they are technically our oversight authority, but they truly are our partner in all of this. We couldn't do it without their help. And they are very supportive of what it is we're trying to do and trying to make sure that we're successful with this. Obviously, they want to see all of the funds go to good use as well. MDOT has been extremely supportive. Their goal was to see this through, and they've supported us to get here. So I think the support will continue. Even at the congressional level, we got an outstanding letter of support from Senator Peters and his team in our recent grant application. So I think we have the federal support. It's just going to be what Congress as a whole decides to do.
Yeah, and it was interesting. Miss Williams called me during her travels. She's having a very exciting time learning about transportation and how other communities operate. And there was a sense that she's very popular in the past couple of days, given that other communities have heard about what's going on in this community. And I tried to explain to her that it's a very tight circle when you're talking about national transportation folks and what have you. But the challenge that we have in front of us, and this was what her feedback was, she's finding out, is based on the population density, the size we are, and the rural aspect to our area, we don't have a lot of the same resources, say a Kansas City or St. Louis or New Orleans or something like that have. You have, where bonds are just, here you go. And the impact to the, is, I don't want to say it's nominal, but it's not as forward facing as what we have here. And then we're making a big jump. And this is what I had to explain to her, from like Albion not having anything or having a less robust system where we depended on kind of a scant budget, to establishing something like you would have short of rail in a major city or what have you to get folks from A to B. And it's going to be a progression. So, and I'll let her tell it, but the thing that's shocking to her is when she explains the resources that we're using and what we have, people in other communities are mortified that we're getting so much done with 3 people and a team that that is working very hard, and they're really impressed with the amount of progress that's been made. Not just for the TACC, but transportation as a whole. They don't understand the rural aspect. They were like, I don't understand why what do you mean the board's doing all this work? And it's like, well, this is what we have to do to get us there. So it's important.
I do have one more thing. I believe it was on 60 Minutes this last Sunday. Everybody know what Waymo is?
Mm-hmm.
It's driverless cars. They're currently in 5 cities. And it's comparable to like an Uber or Lyft cost, that you don't have to tip because there is no driver. And they were talking with a young, I think 14-year-old maybe, about how she feels so comfortable using public transportation like that because she's in the car alone. Mom doesn't have to worry about getting her from this practice or that practice or getting to school. Also not having her friends driving her everywhere. And I can't remember which one of the 5 cities Waymo is, but it was a very interesting story from a perspective of a 14-year-old who's now going to grow up thinking, I can use Waymo or public transportation. And Mom was very happy, but I believe it was on 60 Minutes, and you usually can go in to CBS and see that story. But
one of the bigger communities I happen to be a part of was Phoenix and Scottsdale, Arizona has Waymo. And some of the folks at this meeting were going to another spot and they got in that Waymo. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not, I'll wait. I mean, it's a little bit freaky. The thing rolls up and they have these different vehicles. This one happened to be a electric Jaguar.
Yeah, in Phoenix, they're all electric Jaguars.
And they got in. I'm like, I'll see you at the meeting. I'll drive my rental car. It's like, and then they came to the meeting and said, hey, it was, it was okay. But
It was a little scary when I was driving. They were in front of me and behind me. I'm going, I hope they know what's
Yeah.
going on there.
yeah, but it's
I'm here.
but it's technology development, and we have different challenges here than they would in Arizona because weather is consistent, and traffic is somewhat predictable, if I say that.
In Phoenix, it's quite flat also, and
Yeah, so you can, so we'll see how that works, but we will get our Ride Calhoun system going, and who knows what that'll look like 20 years from now. But you're at the tip of the spear now in developing that.
tip of the spear.
Everything's on the table. Okay, thank you very much. I'll move on to Peter. Do we have Peter and Clark today?
Yes.
Hey, Peter, sir.
Yeah, I thought I saw Peter earlier.
All right, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
All right, very good. So there's several little items that I want to go through with you as a board. The first is that we are thinking about what the next workshop needs to be about. The board needs to really have a complete review of all the assets currently held by BCT. This has to be like laid out for you so you can understand clearly what is coming to you. And if you recall, I said that almost months ago that we really need to get on top of knowing what those are. An examination of all the buses and equipment on delivery with notation of Ride Calhoun wrapping would be good so that you can have a good sense of balance of what's still going to be BCT or others than Ride Calhoun. Have a better understanding of how the full rollout will occur during the next year. You will need a description of all the grants in place now and those that will be transferred on October 1st to the TAC. This is something that I've had communications with FTA about separately, but also with Mallory. You'll really have to have a detailed sense of what those grants are and what they include, what the dollar amounts are, what the purpose is. An analysis of all the grants funding expected during the next year, including local bus operating from MDOT and Section 5309 from FTA. Mallory alluded a little bit to potential impact on 5309 funds. I want to tell you that for my own communications with people at FTA and MDOT, and they occur frequently because I attend conferences, that FTA and MDOT is very committed to making sure that TAC will be successful. We're talking about staff. We're talking about either regional staff or at the FTA, we're talking about MDOT staff in Lansing. I think that you should also get any concept of how will local funds be used to match anything if that's necessary for any of these grants. I would expect that there would be a report, a full report on any meetings held with FTA and MDOT. And I would expect that there's a report on the agreement with the city of Battle Creek on an agreement for work to be done by the city for TAC. And I will share with you my personal disappointment that this is not proceeding fast enough for the consultants, since we expected that those things would be done so that we have a smooth transition by the end of this month to prepare for October 1st. I think there should be a review of all the agreements that will be transferred from Battle Creek to the TAC, which will include the agreement with the ATU and any other parties. So you see that there's a lot of work that has to be done to prepare the board to understand exactly what is going to happen once October 1st hits. And then what do you own? What are you responsible for? What is staff doing? I think that there's gonna be probably a point where which we have to get back and say, what do you have to staff up for? As the TAC gets formalized, because you will probably have only 1, 2, or 3 employees at that point. You should also be aware that even though I'll be gone traveling for a while, I'll be on internet almost all the time and be able to respond to any questions that you have or Mallory has or Clark has about what's going on. And I'll be able to even be able to understand more clearly what is really happening with MDOT and FTA. And I think this is something that your consultants are concerned about, that we need to be kept up to speed as to what's going on. Otherwise, it's not too helpful to the TAC board that you have consultants who may not know exactly what's going on at what time. I will be returning to Michigan on September 17th, well in time for any transition to October 1st. I want to inform you that at the APTA Transform meeting this year, I will be inducted into the APTA Hall of Fame, which is a rare honor dispensed to people who have spent most of their career in transit. This will continue to be an asset to you because of the respect that I have in the APTA institution as we continue forward. I hope that this report meets your satisfaction, but I think there's a lot of things that the board, and Clark and I feel this way, we've communicated about. There's a lot of things that the board needs to get up to speed on even before October 1st. And I think that's really primarily why we were retained as consultants, to help you with advice and moving forward and be able to make sure that the TAC will be just a totally successful authority in Michigan. I'm open to any questions. Clark's on the line too. He may add any answer any other questions you may have.
Any questions for the consultants? I have some feedback, but
Okay.
Could that be shared with us in writing, like email to us? That was a long list of things and I tried to write down what you were saying, but I probably didn't get everything, and it would be, for me, I learn better by seeing than hearing. It's
Well,
just it's that important. If you could email
forward
the list to us, that would be helpful for me.
I'll be happy to do that. I think
Okay.
I'll be very happy to do that.
Thank
Yes.
you.
yeah, and so I think what Amy's asking for is creating a standard update swing between the board and you to kind of keep you in the loop in between things as things happen. And we'll try and do a better job of communicating the in the moment stuff as well. Dr. Watson, did you have a question for Peter?
Did we have a
And
date?
Clark?
Did we have a date set for the next workshop?
I think, yeah, August 12th. And they're working on helping us with content for that. If there's not some follow-up on other things that we're working on. So, Peter and Clark, I took some of the highlighted stuff that you put. So we know we got an asset list from Battle Creek, and we passed it on to the attorneys. The attorneys are considering that, and that is part of the negotiation along with staff that is happening right now. Some really in-depth conversations had to happen between whose responsibility are those assets and how do you value those assets? Are they federal assets or are they City of Battle Creek assets or what have you? That was up for debate. And I think there's some solvency headed that direction. So I'm feeling good about the asset list that you're referring to and that they received and what have you. And we're all talking about the same thing. I too.
Sorry to interrupt. It would be helpful if that, and I think I mentioned it before, if that has an estimated useful life associated with each of them, because I didn't see that, and it would be nice to know how much longer it's going to be in service potentially.
Perfect. I may have just taken that off of your guys' list, but yeah.
Okay, great.
I thought I saw that on there, but I could be mistaken. But yeah. yeah, the depreciation and all that good stuff. In terms of the grants pieces, I think our technical staff, being Mallory and Christy, have a really good beat on that piece. But I too wish the lawyers would move at a more expeditious pace. But given back and forth negotiations, that's a little bit out of our control. And all of the attorneys involved are aware of the designation date and how much time we have and what have you. So I think that me showing up at either attorney's office would not be helpful. But however, we are having back and forth, and they do give us direction to take action at this meeting to help that move along. But a little bit of disappointment that we were expecting that to happen quicker, seeing that we had some pre-discussion about that. But given the state of the Battle Creek leadership and transition time and what have you, I think this took a little bit of a back seat to the activity that's happened in the past 3 weeks around city manager search and finalizing that and so on and so forth. That's not an excuse. That doesn't make us less important, but that's the reality of what we're dealing with. In terms of, that's a great idea about local fund match report. I think that our staff has a really good beat on that, but we'll start putting that report together when we get a little bit more structure. And then, yeah, the MDOT, we have a great relationship with MDOT, as Mallory articulated, in terms of how do we transfer that. And I think our first step today we took with the resolution that we have is giving Mallory the authority to enact some of those things that would transfer some of those obligations and move forward with new obligations as well relative to MDOT. So hopefully we have that document a little bit, plus we have some other things that, you know, are in the works, but duly noted in terms of the sense of urgency and the requirements pre-designation on October 1st. That makes sense. All right.
This is Peter, if I can do a follow-up here. The material for the workshop will be prepared in conjunction with Mallory, working with Mallory, and probably Mallory is going to be the one who's going to get you all the presentation materials. This is just a preliminary list we looked at to say these are the things we think is most urgent for the board now. Because you really have to have a good sense of what is it that you're going to end up owning, and maybe not even owning as much as you think you do when you start. You are in a very unusual situation. You have to have some sort of sense of knowledge about that it's what you've created as an authority is very unique. And then you're absorbing assets and agreements and all kinds of from a separate institution to which you are not that wedded. It's very different in most of the United States when these authorities get created out of another situation. There's a more smooth transition because things are more going from one authority into the other authority. There is no previous authority here. What you had was a city transit system and other elements. It's not the same situation. So yeah, we all have to have some patience. We're just here as consultants to make sure there's some things that really are more critical than others and need to be resolved in a smooth way. And you have to have as a board, you have to have really good understanding because you make policy decisions that they are accurate based upon being well informed rather than just floundering around because you're trying to figure it out. I think that's why we're concerned that these workshops are very beneficial for you. And I'm not saying I think this is the last one. I think that as you have more questions, we will be able to also work with Mallory to provide you with that environment that creates a positive workshop, just like we did last time. Last workshop was very positive in my mind. It was very informative in terms of our understanding of how the board is thinking about things. And I think you came to, we got to realize that this board really knows how to work well together. And that's a very positive sign. There is a feeling that this TAC board really wants to work closely with each other and be successful and make the right compromises as necessary. I think you need to have that feedback from us too, that comfort level of how you address each other and come to decisions is a very positive thing. And I think you should allay any fears about MDOT and FTA because the staff is clearly out there to help you. As Mallory expressed, what funding will occur is what funding will occur. That's out of those hands. That comes out of either Congress or how the FTA addresses some things. But the staff themselves who are supposed to help you transition to be a recipient, to be partners, especially with MDOT, to be partners in the future. I have 100% sense that this MDOT and FTA is committed to that. And I know that because of personal relationships I have throughout MDOT and FTA. And just want to make sure that you had a positive sense of where this is going, despite some of the urgency I was providing in my report.
Tom?
I guess this is a Peter Clark Mallory question. We're scheduled for 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Is that enough time to accomplish what you all three feel will be on that agenda? Or should we plan to get our schedules to where it's more than 2 hours? I hate rushing at a meeting, so I'm asking the question now so that we know what we should be planning on.
I guess my thought on that is if we start getting over 2 hours, we might end up with more work than we have staff to get done. So last time we were kind of tight on time with the 2 hours, but it was honestly, I feel like the right amount of to-do items for us to be able to successfully complete before the next one. I'm afraid if we got much longer, our to-do list of things on top of our normal day-to-day stuff would just get overburdened. We would get overburdened on that. I think having this regular cadence of workshops to tackle the little, I say small bites out of the elephant at a time, is more beneficial from my perspective.
Can I add to that? I would suggest that, and this for everybody involved, I would suggest as we set this up, we come with the subject matter and the outcome ready to go.
Yep.
I need this signed, I need this approved, I need that approved, and that helps keep us on track. And within that 2 hours when we leave here, I need a yay or nay on all of this. And that becomes a matter of discussion. So around that yay or nay, we don't get sidetracked and we can have a discussion about that thing.
Yes.
And then move on. And spend the discussion is not 30 minutes. The discussion is 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm stretching the 10 minutes to get that approval because we will have a lot of the background information we need to make that decision coming into that meeting. That is how you stay within the 2 hours.
I agree. And the other thing is that when we have this work session in August, it's 48 days to pressing the start button. So it's there's some urgency.
Isn't that exciting though?
Oh, it is.
48 days from now, wonderful things are going to happen, and we're going to be ready. So we got the right people around us, and if we keep getting those things in order and pushing the right buttons, we'll get there. Okay. All right. Clark, you good?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I just wanted to echo, I agree completely with Mallory's comments and yours. What I would recommend and what I'll do in conjunction with Mallory is not only will you get the background information on each of the issues, but if we have a recommended action for you to take, that will be printed as well so that you have that before you come into the meeting in August.
See, I like how you shaped that up in a consultant type way. That's what consultants are supposed to do.
Thank you. Thank you for consulting.
Yes. Okay.
If we're doing that, if there's going to be, we're going to, at the end of it, have a recommendation, should we not be calling this a workshop? Should this be a regular board meeting where we take the action rather than waiting 2 more weeks to act on the recommendation? Because technically, if you call it a workshop, you cannot take action.
It's a recommendation that comes back.
So should this be posted as a regular meeting? And we,
For timing's sake.
We could actually do.
Tom has a good point.
And then a short meeting right afterwards. We could do-
I'll invite Mallory back to the podium.
So I think my hope on this workshop committee schedule coming before the meeting is you guys don't necessarily have to make decision, but you can give us kind of direction and then, or make that recommendation. We can prepare what's needed from there and have it placed on the agenda for the next.
if that is the
meeting.
plan, I just,
Yeah.
Time was of the essence.
mhm.
Is that what you're thinking?
I don't think there's anything that we would be discussing at that meeting that would need to be necessarily approved at that meeting unless that agreement from the city comes in which case we can post 18 hours for a public notice.
All right.
Yeah. So if that agreement comes through, I would suggest we change it to a meeting rather than a workshop.
Okay. So we've been talking about APTA quite a bit.
Yeah.
So can you explain to me what that acronym stands for?
American Public Transit Association.
Okay. And what do they do?
They are our national association. So they hold training sessions. Maya is at an APTA conference right now. And they also do some lobbying. They do education. They provide certifications. They have multiple subcommittees, so you can kind of find the niche that you fit in. So, for example, small urban operators.
Yeah.
And it's a networking.
So it's education, networking, lobbying,
Mhm.
any grant
They do some
opportunities?
grant assistance, but they don't directly provide grants that we would be pursuing. They have some like small initiative grants, but nothing that we're.
So they're a policy and advocacy group.
Correct.
Okay. But the lobbying thing works well, right?
Yes. Yep. So we belong to CTAA, which is the Community Transportation Association of America. That represents more of your small urban and rural systems. APTA represents your largest systems and rural systems as well, but mostly your really large systems. They also do rail, obviously board member seminars, things like that. And then we also belong to something called the Bus Coalition, and that's another kind of lobbying firm. And I meet with Jason from the Bus Coalition regularly to kind of talk about what's going on. You mentioned it earlier. We have all of the same regulations, requirements, and challenges that the largest systems like Chicago have, but with a fraction of the resources. And so those organizations kind of help us deliver that message to the federal side.
I know how we make up that gap. I have an idea.
Okay.
We are on the precipice of APTA royalty, as Peter said. So my expectation from one of our premier consultants is that we get on our horse with that royalty position and push this lobbying thing to close that inequity gap that we have between, say, us and Chicago. And Peter, I know that you can get that done before October 1st. So that's not going to be on your billing statement. I'm just saying that you utilize whatever royalty you're about to embark on to help the TACC. All right. Okay. Our next meeting is August 26th. If we can mark that down, and knowing we have an August 12th workshop to be determined in terms of topics. All right. Anything else for the good of the group? Perfect. Great meeting. Thank you for coming on during vacation time, obviously, and other things, but we'll continue to keep the ball rolling. Meeting adjourned.
I'm on vacation.